What's going on today, guys? It's your boy Zaza, and I'm back again for another video. So today we're going to be talking about the reality of learning Python in 2024. So in a time where everyone is talking about AI and machine learning algorithms, it's really hard to decide whether or not you should learn Python nowadays. So in this video, I'm going to speak about the pros and cons of Python and who should and should not learn Python by the end of this video. Get into it. So some of the pros of Python is, one, it's very beginner friendly and it has a very beginner friendly syntax. Python can be used for a bunch of different types of applications, data analysis, websites, machine learning, and things like that. Another pro is that it's actually a well supported and has a great community around Python. So there's a bunch of different libraries that are created by other developers that you can use to kind of not use the same or reinvent the wheel. Essentially, people have most likely already written code that will do what you need it to do for your specific application and your use case. Another pro about Python is it is a very flexible language. So what I mean by that is there are many libraries, like I stated. There's NumPy for doing some computation and things like that. There's a Matplotlib, which I use for data visualizations, scikit-learn for machine learning algorithms, Django and Flask for web application development. So those are some pros of Python. Now we're going to hop into the cons. Let's get it. So one of the biggest cons of Python is that it's actually a interpreted language rather than a compiled language. The performance is going to be slower than a compiled language such as C++ or Java. So that is one thing to kind of think about. So if you're building like a super big enterprise application, Python's probably not going to be the best for that specific use case. Another thing about Python is it is dynamically typed. What I mean by that is the data types that you're writing in your code don't have to be essentially declared or initialized. Python essentially will assume what type of data type you're using. Now, if you're a beginner or you don't know much about programming, you might think that is a good thing, and it is an easy thing, and it can definitely relieve some of the stress of first learning Python. However, that comes with its drawbacks, such as it will give you unexpected errors, unexpected behavior because of these data type assumptions essentially, and it kind of becomes a little bit harder to debug and fix. All right, so now I'm going to go into who should and should not learn Python in 2024. So if you have an interest in data science, using data to create models and do different predictions, predictive analytics, then Python's probably going to be the best for you. That's what I use in kind of my day-to-day programming language is going to be Python. Someone else that should learn Python is if you're really new to just learning programming in general. Like I said before, it is very beginner friendly as far as the syntax. And if you don't have any programming knowledge, this is the best place to start. Are you just going to stay in Python and never learn any other language? Possibly, but don't recommend it unless you're going into these other fields or these pique your interest as well, and none of the others do. Another thing that Python is good for is scripting and automation, which is kind of how I got into it. It's good at automating smaller tasks and being able to write little scripts to do things like, for example, I have one that runs and it clears out my downloads folder automatically on a weekly cadence, so I never have to really worry about that. That's just one example. There's plenty of other examples as well. Like I mentioned earlier, if you are interested in AI and machine learning because that interests you, not because that's the hot thing necessarily, then Python is going to be the best for you. Like I stated earlier, it has a bunch of things that you can use, like scikit-learn that has machine learning algorithms. That would be great for using AI, creating chatbots and things like that. All right, so now we're going to get into who should not learn Python in 2024. All right, so if you are interested in web development, then like I said, any programming language can do the same thing. Some may be harder to do than others. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best for that specific thing. So for web development, I would say learn something like JavaScript and not Python for long term, right? It's not that you can't do it. I think JavaScript is a lot more robust when it comes to using user interface aspect of like the website. There's a lot of different things you can do to kind of customize that, make it interactive and make it really good looking. But in that case, I would use JavaScript for web development. Now, if you're interested in mobile apps, this is for the best case scenario. If you kind of want, the best programming language for this specific type of development, then for mobile apps, it's probably going to be somewhere like Kotlin or for Android, and then Swift for iOS apps. Now you can also use like React Native and those type of things. I haven't done app development in years, but I know that Python isn't going to be the best for it. The next one who shouldn't learn Python is going to be anybody who's interested in game development. Like I said, there is a library called Pygame that you can use in Python to make little games and do things like that. However, I'm talking about bigger enterprise games where there's a lot of software, there's a lot of different developers working at one time. Python is not going to be the best suited for that type of game. Go with something like C++, C#, or Java if you want to become a game developer. All right, so there you have it. We have the pros and cons of Python, who should and should not learn Python. Please leave me a comment. Like this video if you like the video, and love, peace, and chicken grease. I will see y'all in the next one. I'm out.